have a callback for 86 negative K, nothing further, just see the cabbie on the corner. 18 Sergeant Essential. 19 Sergeant check.
Protect and Serve Radio is on the air, presented by the City of Thief River Falls and sponsored by Imagine Salon, The Grand Stay, Reed Realty, and the Puck on Third.
Alright, 10-4, 862, 1090.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Protect and Serve Radio. My name is Officer Ryan Bassett. I am also here joined by Chief Dick Wittenberg. I have two special guests with me today. Sergeant Mike Roth from the Thief River Falls Police Department and Deputy Cody Gilland from Marshall County Sheriff's Office. They're both K-9 officers. If they want to introduce themselves here, we're going to kind of get their stories. Sergeant, you want to tell us how long you've been doing this? And you can go ahead and grab the mic. Go ahead.
Like you said, my name's Mike Roth. I'm a sergeant here at Thief River Falls Police Department. I've been a K-9 handler now for about 2 years. Been with the department, working on my 5th year now. Prior to that, I was Red Lake County deputy for about 15 years. It's kind of my story, I guess.
Okay. And what is your dog's name, and what kind of dog is it?
My K-9 is his name is Max. He's a 5-year-old Belgian Malinois. He is what's considered a dual-purpose K-9, which means he is narcotics detection and patrol certified also.
Okay. The other deputy here is Cody Gilland. Cody, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Cody Gilland. I've been with Marshall County almost 9 years now. I've got 14 years total law enforcement and just about 3 years as a K-9 handler.
What's your dog's name, and what kind of dog do you have?
My dog's name is Eva. She's a 5.5-year-old Belgian Malinois. She's also a dual purpose, so she's trained for tracking, narcotics, and criminal apprehension.
One of the other questions I think a lot of people might have is what kind of training goes into this and how long does it take? And for that, I'll turn over both these guys, and they can kind of give us an insight into this. Sergeant Roth, you want to tell us your experience?
Yeah, I took a little bit, maybe a little bit different road than most K-9 handlers. I started off 1 year as a single-purpose K-9, which means he was just a narcotics detection K-9. After 1 year, we decided to go back and get the dual-purpose certification, the patrol certification, which is the criminal apprehension and tracking and all that. So, Cody, you started right away as a dual-purpose K-9, correct?
Yep.
And then what did you have for training?
Well, I went down to Iowa, and I was there for 15 days. And that was 15 days in a row, no breaks. And some days were 12 hours, some days were 17 hours. My dog came from Bulgaria initially. She's an import. And so we went down there, whatever, and we worked on our narcotics and tracking and apprehension.
And mine was just a little bit different again. I went to Anoka, Minnesota. I was initially there for 2 weeks, and then when I went back for the patrol portion, I was down there for approximately a month. And with that, the reason it was kind of a little bit different is, I trained with approximately 10 other teams that were doing the same thing at the same time. So a little bit different road, but our dogs are the same certified now. I certified through USPCA, which is the United States Police K-9 Association, both narcotics detection and patrol. I do an annual recertification through them. What do you do?
So once a year I go back down to Iowa, and I spend about 4.5 days, and I do a recertification there through North Iowa K-9.
All right.
So another question is how often do both of you guys get called out, and what is your most common thing that you actually do besides narcotics and the apprehension? I mean, which one is the most common for you guys, and how often do you get called out?
Well, for me here, by far the most common call out I get is narcotics detection call outs. I do a lot of work with the drug task force and search warrants, also vehicle stops by patrol officers. We do get called out. I would say probably an average of probably close to twice a month. I'm getting called out, or once every couple of weeks I'll get a call out. Just got called out last night for a track. We do do get called out for tracks, although it's not quite as common as the narcotic stuff for me.
So total, right now we're at about 137 deployments with my dog. 105 of those are for narcotics. We have 9 criminal apprehensions with 2 bites. So getting called out, a lot of times I'm working already. I work a lot of nights. I do get called out on occasion. I've been going up to the lake, and Roseville County's actually called me, and we went and did a search of a package that came in the mail, and it was a little over a quarter pound of methamphetamine in it. So we get call outs, not so much, but we do a lot of we get a lot of stuff, when I'm working. We help assist other agencies and things like that also. So.
Chief, do you have any questions or things to add to this?
Yeah, I'd like to just add a little bit and elaborate a little bit more on the training that these 2 individuals have. There are a lot of police officers out there that have the passing fancy that they think they want to be canine officers, and they have no idea how much hard work and training is involved in continuing hard work and training. These people have to live with their dogs 24 hours a day. And there's just a lot of extra training involved, not only just with the dog handling, but additional training in areas like search and seizure and constitutional law and things like that, which directly applies to their job as canine officers. And so there's a lot of additional training and effort has to continuously get put into this program to make it successful. As a chief, it's easy to fund a dog and get the program rolling. What's hard is to keep that program going and keep the motivation level there so that it can be an effective program over the long haul. And that's what makes or breaks canine programs. The dogs all know how to do their job. It's the officers that make or break the program by keeping the motivation going. So, and we've got 2 good handlers here that have already, gone the distance with their programs, and I know I'm totally satisfied with our program here in Thief River.
So speaking of training, I think another thing too is how much training do you do, let's say a month or even in a week with Max?
I would say, and that's one thing that I forgot to mention too, is not only do we obviously certify every year, but me and Cody, along with Tyler Highcheck from Eastside, we get together probably once every 2 weeks and we train as a group, so we can learn from each other, get little tips here and there and stuff like that. But I know I try to train at least a little bit every day, whether it's obedience, narcotics, come out here at the start of my shift or when it's quiet and lay down a few tracks and run some tracks. I know Cody's the same way. We're all training by ourselves, and then we do get together once every 2 weeks or try to. Our schedules aren't always easy to line up, but we try to get together and train as a group also.
It's absolutely an everyday thing. There's no really holidays or breaks.
All right, let's see these dogs in action. So we're going to see Max in action here, and I've got Cody with me. And can you describe what's going to happen here with Deputy Thiebert is the catcher here for this? Want to describe what's going on?
Well, basically what's happening right now is the dog is just watching his target. The dog knows what's going on because he sees the sleeve, and it's all fun and games for the dog. He's just waiting for his cue, and he's going to go do what he's supposed to do.
Now, at this point, what's going to happen with Max once Mike's up there?
So this is an apprehension. So in a real world, your subject's probably going to be fighting a little bit, whatever. Now he outs the dog, which means he vocally tells the dog to release. Some dogs are a little harder to get to do that right away than others. Some are a little more amped up, hard-headed, whatever. But like I said, the dog knows what's going on. He knows what he needs to do. He stays there as the officer pats him down, and the subject would break away from the officer, try to run, and the dog would re-engage.
Seems that Max is pretty well trained here as far as disengaging goes and knowing when to stop. I think the other thing too, is to reiterate with these dogs is I've seen a lot too is the reward part.
So the reward in the training aspect, in the bite work and everything, actually the reward is the dog getting to bite the person.
So one of the questions I think a lot of people have is about the reward part and keeping them really, really excited. And what's the basic principle behind that?
Well, depending on what we're doing. Now with this bite stuff, I mean, the reward is to bite the sleeve. That's what they're kind of an extension from the toy that we worked up into the sleeve and then eventually, into a man if need be. Now narcotics detection is totally different. Now that's a ball reward. That's just a tennis ball, and that's what they love. But all this stuff is a game to them. They're not, they know it's serious business, especially the apprehension work. It takes some bravery from a dog too, because they're going to have to take a few lumps maybe, but that's a real nice recall there.
Yeah, very nice.
Now, at this point, what's Deputy Gillen going to do here?
Right now, he's going to simulate what he'd be saying to a real suspect. We try to make this training as real as possible so the dogs don't encounter anything that they're not familiar with. But the biggest thing here is getting a verbal out, which means he's going to give him a command that's going to get him to release that arm. Now that dog is very, what we call keyed up, or he's very excited, and he loves doing this stuff, and it's not always easy getting that verbal out. So
I think one of the big things with this too is getting the volunteers. I think Deputy Gillen was asking about that too, or commenting about getting people to come out and do this, or who wants to participate. And what can you say about the volunteers, and or if somebody wants to volunteer with this, or who do you take as a volunteer?
Well, this is Deputy Thiebert with the Sheriff's Office. He's been great for us. It takes a certain amount of courage to be able to do this, and he's been great at it. We got a couple other guys in the department that have volunteered to do it and have helped us out some. It's kind of one of those things, we're not going to just throw a sleeve on somebody and send them out there and have them start taking bites, because it is dangerous. They could get hurt, and they could hurt the dog too if it's not done properly. So we do have a handful of guys that are willing to help. Generally, it's usually the younger guys. The older guys are not quite as willing to do it. I don't know if that's intelligence or not, but
Wisdom,
yeah.
Okay, we just saw both dogs in action. They both did very, very well for this training exercise. I want to thank Deputy Gillen and Sergeant Roth for participating in this. Also, we want to discuss the regional aspect and the surrounding area, and I'm turning over to Chief Wittenberg for that.
Well, one of the things when we were fundraising for this program was we raised funds throughout the county. We had great support from Goodridge and from St. Hilaire, from all over the county. So even though the dog belongs to the Thief River Police Department, we're getting great support from all over the county, and we have made this a regional program so that our dog would be able to go and service any request for service anywhere, even outside the county, and we've worked back and forth with Marshall County as well. So it's really a regional program. It's not just Thief River Falls, or it's not just Marshall County. It's a benefit to the whole region, all these programs, and to have a couple of dogs around it's just great that they'd be able to trade work with each other and trade training back and forth, and it's really taken off. It's a good program, and it's well established already too. So
I think we hit on it before, and we'll wrap up here, but I think what other areas that you guys go out to, and can you speak to Deputy Gillen? Can you speak to where have you been since you've become a canine? What other areas have you been besides Marshall?
Roseau and Kitson. Been to Pennington a couple of times before Mike got Max. It's kind of just the surrounding counties, but anybody that calls, obviously, I was just up in Roseau just the other night, and anybody that calls, we'll go help them, because it's not only is it doing the work, whatever, but it's also anytime you go on a street deployment, it's training that's in real life and you can't duplicate it.
So, Mike, what other areas have you been in, kind of call-outs that you've been on besides just in Pennington?
Well, that's I was just going to mention real quick that that's one thing that's been really nice about having couple different dogs in the area is, you know, if I have we're both on call 24/7 with the dog. We're subject to getting called out at any time. And, if I'm out of town with a family or something like that, Cody can take call if something comes up here, and the same goes for him. If he's gone, I can go over to Marshall. I have been over to Marshall once helping out. I've been up to Roseau County. I've been to Polk County a couple separate times now, and then obviously numerous calls out here in Pennington County. But the one thing I just want to mention too, and not only the call outs and the stuff like that we, the narcotics and the tracking, but the PR events that we do as canine handlers. I know Cody's mentioned he's got a DARE presentation coming up here shortly. I just did, it was 2 separate DARE presentations for I think 6 different classes. I still have one coming up here in Goodridge. Every year we go out to Goodridge and do a DARE presentation for their DARE class. We were at the Easter egg hunt in town. Any opportunity we can, we get out. I joke around a lot that I've met more young kids in the last 2 years than I've met the previous 16 years in law enforcement, and it's a chance to meet the kids in a good light. They want to come up, they want to say hi, they want to meet the dog, and it gives a chance to have a good positive encounter with kids.
I'd say as soon as we walk into the classroom, you can see the kids, so they're kind of excited, whatever. But when the dog comes in, it's a whole different thing. And that's what the whole thing's about. So.
Well, that'll wrap it up for a special edition here for Protect and Serve Radio. I want to thank everyone for watching.